I want to lead off in with my recommendation, actually, the answer to the third question. I wanted to start with that and then end with that, which is I wanted to encourage you all to consider hosting a community conversation on climate and blank in your house of faith or in your location. And the blank can be filled in by you or your community in terms of what is of most concern to you all. We have done a number of these and we have tinkered with the model over the years, but in places like, for example, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, they wanted to talk about climate and sea level rise, not surprisingly. But in other places, there were other topics that folks were particularly concerned about. In Phoenix, Arizona, for example, it had to do with climate and water. In Oakland, California, they wanted to talk about climate and wildfires. And in many cases, that decision on how to fill in the blank was driven by the sort of cultural identity and the local values, that sense of place that people have. In Florida, they love the Florida Everglades, they love their keys, coral reefs, and they want to know, what's going to happen to those. In Oakland, California, they love their old growth forests and the beautiful hillsides and so forth. And so they're very concerned, what's going to happen there? How can we understand that? And then how can we move from a place of understanding into understanding what actions to take? So in these community conversations that we've hosted, we've usually broken it, we've tried to keep it very simple, and we've broken it into sort of a three-part agenda. Usually having a subject matter expert, someone who's invited who has expertise in the area of focus that the local community chooses to talk about. So we have an upfront sort of setting of the table presentation to summarize the evidence for the problem. And why does this matter? To make the case, why does it matter? Why does it matter in the natural world? Why does it matter in our built environments? Why does this matter for the economy? How is this touching each of us in every region and every sector? And to really lay that out. And then what we discovered is that the people who are showing up at these events, when we first hosted some of these events, we came much more armed with the evidence. There have been some criticisms, for example, that have said things like, well, the science isn't settled, or, can we really be sure this is happening? Do we really understand? And so forth. And so we showed up at these events very armed with data and information to help people understand that the science is very well understood. But it turned out these were not the people who were coming to these events. The people who were coming were those who you might call the choir, as it were. These were people who were showing up because they wanted to be told what they could do, what actions could they take. And so we had to completely revise the agenda for these community conversations, and we realized that it's really good if we can stack the crowd with people who have been leading and formulating different programs or projects that provide easy on-ramps for engagement, and at multiple scales. Some are very highly local, some are, say, state or regional, and some might be more national in scale. So there's lots of different activities that folks can get involved in if they want to make a difference and be a part of the change. And then based on the decisions that they made in that session, we would allow them to opt into breakout groups where they could discuss and brainstorm and plan different events and actions and activities together. So I'd be willing to help you find experts if you want to have your own events, your own local conversations. We have extension networks. I collaborate with professionals in many other federal agencies and all across NOAA. So we would be happy to support your event. I can help you identify projects that are on-ramp projects that you could feature in your events. And I'd be happy to help you leverage and use the community conversations model if you would need help for structuring your conversations. I'm calling attention to a number of different projects or things that you could consider in terms of the fabric of your event, such as inviting energy utilities to come and talk about alternatives. In Maryland, I can go and select, I want all the energy coming to my house to be solar or to be wind. I happen to have solar panels on my roof, but I could do that if I wanted to, and so forth. So there are citizen science campaigns. We sponsor participatory campaigns whereby citizens get out and map their urban heat islands. This one is calling attention to citizen campaigns to map high tide flooding and the extent of flooding, landscaping projects. The Urban Sustainability Directors Network has opportunities for people to apply to set up their own local resilience hubs. And I can get you connected to that network. So there's lots of on-ramp types of projects that you could do. So what are those things that we can systematize and scale up by systematizing? And that's really what the Steps to Resilience and some of the programs that we're about to launch under IRA, under the IRA and the bill, are aiming to do, are home in on those things that have a track record of success and are now ready to be taken to scale.